Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right in today and we're heading straight out to the rolling bluegrass hills of Kentucky to a beautifully serene place called Whispering Oaks Farm. Picture it, morning mist clinging to white wooden fences, a place where the echoes of past champions literally meet the promise of the future. We're going to explore a profoundly moving story of generational legacy in the world of horse racing. And as you'll see, it's a story that absolutely proves some dreams are just way too powerful to ever fade away. Right off the bat, we're hit with this incredibly powerful thought. Run not just for yourself, my son. Run for what could have been. Now, this isn't some human coach giving a locker room pep talk. This is the silent, deeply felt message passed from a legendary stallion named Thunderheart down to his son, Stormchaser. I mean, wow, that instantly sets up the massive emotional stakes of what we're uncovering today. We aren't just talking about winning a few horse races here. We're talking about destiny, redemption, and the incredibly heavy burden of completing an unfinished masterpiece. Section 1. The Father's Unfinished Dream. Let's look at exactly what happened to Thunderheart. Look, to really understand the son, you absolutely have to know the story of the father. Thunderheart was, for lack of a better word, a total machine. He was born a decade earlier, and he moved with this raw power that would just make seasoned trainers stop dead in their tracks and stare. Ridden by veteran jockey Jack Harlan, everyone thought he was the heir apparent to racing's ultimate throne. Just tracing his Triple Crown trail, you see absolute dominance starting in May. He crushed the Kentucky Derby by 4 massive lengths, literally leading wire to wire. It felt like pure destiny. But then we hit mid-May. The Preakness Stakes at Pimlico. The track was incredibly sloppy after heavy rain. Coming out of the far turn, Thunderheart slipped. He recovered valiantly, he really did, but that massive, desperate effort cost him the race by a mere nose. Then June rolls around. He enters the Belmont Stakes. For a grueling mile and a half, he fought head-to-head, dug deep, and actually crossed the wire first. But that victory came at a terrible price. Here's where it just breaks your heart. In that final furlong of the Belmont, Thunderheart's left foreleg buckled slightly. The official diagnosis? A hairline fracture in his cannon bone. Now, you might be thinking, hairline? That's not too bad, right? But in a 1,200-pound animal moving at 40 miles an hour, a hairline fracture is basically a shattered dream. Because of that awful slip in the mud at the Preakness, the Triple Crown was gone. And because of the fracture at Belmont, there would be no more races, ever. His quest for absolute immortality was just abruptly, permanently over. So Thunderheart retired to stud at Whispering Oaks, but the fire, it never left his eyes. His jockey, Jack Harlan, who was also retired by this point, would come visit him all the time. He'd just sit there on an overturned bucket by the paddock, feeding the old horse peppermints, really leaning into that heavy melancholy of what could have been. Jack would tell him, "You gave me everything, old friend. The world just wasn't ready for us to finish it." You can imagine the weight of this unfinished business just hung over the entire farm like a storm cloud waiting to break. Section 2, Blood Calls to Blood. A brand new generation arises. This brings us to a crisp spring morning in 2015. A chestnut mare labors through the night, and a new colt finally stands up on his wobbly little legs. His coat was gleaming like polished obsidian. They named him Stormchaser. But here is what makes him truly special. He was born with the exact same white star on his forehead as his father. It's an incredibly rare genetic echo, and with that mark, Stormchaser brought in this amazing generational shift. Check out the old guard: Thunderheart, jockey Jack Harlan, and trainer Elias Hawthorne. Now, stepping up for the new era, we have the son, Stormchaser, we have Jack's 23-year-old son, Tommy Harlan, taking the reins, and we have Elias's son, Marcus Hawthorne, taking over as head trainer. It's literally an entire new generation of sons teaming up to finish exactly what their fathers started. How cool is that? And let me tell you, the chemistry was instant. Stormchaser and young Tommy had this almost mystical bond right out of the gate. It was like they spoke a secret language of subtle cues. And Stormchaser didn't just win, he absolutely dominated. I mean, he debuted at Keeneland and won by 7 lengths. Then he swept the Bashford Manor Stakes geet to wire. He capped off a totally undefeated season by being crowned the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Champion. The headlines everywhere were screaming things like, "Thunderheart's son looks like lightning." Section 3, the Triple Crown Trail. This is the ultimate test of heart. The pace of his 3-year-old season was just relentless. March hits the Louisiana Derby. Stormchaser gets pushed to track record speeds by this incredibly fierce rival named Shadowfax. Stormchaser manages to win by a neck, but he comes out with some slight heat in his ankle. Okay, early May, the Kentucky Derby. Stormchaser sweeps to the lead like a dark storm front, winning by 3 clear lengths. The roses are his. But then, we arrive at mid-May, the Preakness Stakes, and suddenly, the ghosts of the past come rushing right back.
You guys, the parallel here is just uncanny. Just like his father, Stormchaser was facing a drying, tricky track after heavy rain at Pimlico. Leaving the starting gate, Stormchaser stumbles. That early trouble leaves him behind the pack, and his rival Shadowfax seizes the lead. What follows is a terrifying, desperate battle all the way down the stretch, literally a precise mirror image of the mud that cost Thunderheart his Triple Crown years earlier. But this time, digging deep into that tiring, muddy ground, Stormchaser prevails by just half a length. It just goes to show, sometimes you aren't just racing your rivals, you're racing your own ghosts.
Section 4. Test of the Champion. The Belmont Stakes. Okay, 2 down, 1 to go. Belmont is a massive, punishing 1.5-mile track made of deep, tiring sand. And let's not forget, it's the exact same track that physically broke his father. Because of this, the entire racing world was haunted by one massive question. Could Stormchaser actually survive that grueling distance after 2 incredibly tough races? Or was this bloodline somehow cursed to always fall short at the final hurdle? A fresh closer named Desert Wind was entering the fray, and Shadowfax was back, absolutely out for blood. The tension was suffocating. People who were there that night say that in the quiet of his Belmont stall, Stormchaser really seemed to feel the heavy weight of his destiny. It was almost like he was dreaming of his father's silent instruction, "Finish what I started." He was anchoring his entire spirit directly to his father's legacy. This wasn't just a horse race anymore, guys. It was a rescue mission across time. Race day. The gates crash open. The break. Stormchaser settles cleanly into 4th. Tommy's hands are totally quiet, just saving every single ounce of energy as the hoofbeats pound the sand. The mile mark, the real race begins. Desert Wind fades out. Shadowfax surges forward. Tommy moves Stormchaser to the outside, and that legendary engine finally kicks in. They hit the far turn completely locked in combat. The final furlong, Stormchaser digs deeper than he ever has in his life. Inch by inch, he opens up. 2.5. That is the critical number. Stormchaser crossed the Belmont wire exactly 2.5 lengths clear of the field. The grandstand completely erupted, the curse was broken. The elusive Triple Crown was finally actually captured by the son of the horse who deserved it a decade prior. The emotional aftermath of this was just incredible. Back at Whispering Oaks, watching through the stable cameras, the whole farm erupts. Thunderheart actually rears up and whinnies in pure joy, a sound that people said carried all across those Kentucky fields. And older jockey Jack Harlan, he's standing up in the owner's box watching his son Tommy raise the whip in triumph, and he just weeps openly. They had finally found their redemption from afar.
Section 5. A Legacy Fulfilled, because the journey definitely continues.
The legacy was fulfilled, yes, but a champion's journey keeps going. Look at Stormchaser's older career. He didn't just win the Triple Crown and disappear into the sunset. No, he went on to win the Dubai World Cup. He defended his Breeders' Cup Classic title. He endured heartbreaking losses too, like a second-place finish in the Travers Stakes just because of a loose shoe. He battled through soreness with Tommy right there by his side, before he finally retired to stud back home at Whispering Oaks, grazing right alongside his father, Thunderheart.
So the crucial takeaway here is this. Some legacies are not merely inherited. They have to be earned, stride by stride, heart by heart. Stormchaser ran for the dream that lived in his father's heart, and he actually completed it. It leaves us with a really powerful question to reflect on in our own lives. What unfinished business will you complete? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep chasing those storms.